This is Twin Cities CEO You Should Know, powered by iHeartMedia.
Hey, it's CEOs You Should Know, back with another interview. I'm Adam West, and we are here with, well, introduce yourself and your company.
Sure. I'm Scott Dettman, and I'm the CEO of Avenica.
And what does Avenica do?
Avenica is a career launching platform. We focus on unleashing human potential through leveraging data science, behavioral psychology, and coaching, and just a little bit of empathy to really help entry-level talent create a career trajectory and live up to their potential.
I wish, well, maybe you were around. I doubt it. When I was trying to get into radio, this is all stuff I would have loved to have heard back then.
Yeah, we've heard that multiple times. I think it's evidence of the need for something like this, and we really focus in on the talent, on the candidates, and really help them to sort of tell their story and understand the value of their lived experience and life experience, and then layer on skill development and really help them, get started on the right foot.
So you previously worked as a data scientist, which sounds really cool. You worked for 5 years with Manpower before launching Avenica. So you kind of talked about some of it, but what led you to start Avenica?
Well, I've always been fascinated by the concept of human potential. That fascination led me into the world of data science and trying to figure out if we could predict human behavior and what people would do and could do. That's also what led me to ManpowerGroup, really helping that organization understand their data and help understand, what motivates people to work or not work and the different kinds of work that they can do. And ultimately, that fascination led me to Avenica, this idea of helping people that have recently graduated or really just kind of starting to launch their careers and help them not only understand what they can do today and be able to message how they can leverage that experience, but really start to build a path forward and give them hope and some sort of concept of how to advance. It's really meaningful work. I love what I get to do every day.
It sounds like 21st century resume writing, like you say, how to leverage that, because I think on a piece of paper, that's really hard to do, right?
Absolutely. So one of the things that we talk about all the time is the problem with resumes, right? So if you think about the way that we connect potential to impact today is through translating what's on a resume into what's in a job description. And I would argue these are two of the worst written documents that exist on the planet, job descriptions and resumes. And so, really trying to understand who is the person behind the resume, especially early in your career. You don't have extensive experience that you can point to. It's really, you're betting on your potential. And the only thing that's really been used in the past is looking at someone's, grade point average or the school they went to or the thing that they studied or the internship. But we all know very well that those things are based on factors that are often out of the candidate's control, right? And were put in motion years and years earlier, right? So if you didn't have access to the kinds of test prep and the kinds of, sort of crafting and marketing to kind of get you into the right schools, then you're really at a disadvantage. And so we look at people coming out of school and we weight the value of their potential based on some assessments and tools that we've developed, but also in kind of understanding their story. Right. So if you're working with somebody that's dealt with something like food insecurity or has seen addiction up close or has had, a loved one incarcerated, this is the kind of challenge and difficulty that most people aren't going to have to deal with. And that kind of candidate is going to be so much more resilient, is going to have a level of grit that can really amplify any of their skills and talents and drive them into success, kind of no matter what they do, if it's harnessed the right way, right? So, and that's what we aim to do.
So when you were talking about the data before, it kind of sounds like it's both quantitative and qualitative. You're really getting in there and getting the whole picture.
Absolutely. So we really try to leverage the quantitative aspect as much as possible to get some sort of predictive value. But again, what we're predicting is potential. And then we use the qualitative side, coaching and performance coaching and things like that, and skill development to really kind of layer in the qualitative and to get the most out of that potential, to activate that potential.
Is that sort of the key thing that makes Avenica different from other staffing agencies, would you say?
Absolutely. It's, most organizations focus on, kind of understanding the need of the employer and, start there, and then they go search for those skills. They go search for that profile. What we do is we start with the supply, start with the talent. We understand who they are, what they want to do, what they're capable of, and then we help, tell their story and amplify that message, and then connect them to opportunities where they can build a really meaningful career.
Sounds like you're not only interested in helping talent find jobs based on their experience, but also helping them sort of continue their education or build more talent, more experience, more education. How do you do this, and why do you do it?
Yeah, I mean, initially, we're really focused on launching that career, right? But we we understand that by mapping potential into the right environment with the right employer, we can really put them into a position where they have the resources they need and are in the kind of environment that will foster their growth. And then we check in with them and provide ongoing opportunities for career development and advancement. Excuse me.
Sure. What kind of careers are we talking about here?
Well, so we really try to focus in on people that are coming out of school without a very specific defined path, right? So if you go to school for nursing or mechanical engineering, you're likely to be a nurse or a mechanical engineer. But if you go to school and get a degree in like political science, which is what my undergraduate degree was in, there's not a super specific path that people are kind of meant to follow. So we really look at people with backgrounds in the social sciences, or things like history and English and just different types of business, marketing, all those different kinds of careers. And then we map them to a career trajectory where they can leverage the strengths that they have into the world of work. So we connect a lot of people to opportunities in financial services, specifically in areas like insurance. We work in corporate real estate, logistics, technology, a whole host of industries. But it's almost always based on connecting people to opportunities where the key or core skills are those like foundational communication skills, right? Communication, problem solving, leveraging data to help identify patterns and solutions. And those are really, I mean, that's the majority of our economy, right? Is people that can work with other people, display a level of empathy, solve problems, work on a team, and then layer on the skills that they'll gain, throughout their experience. That really makes it the majority of the, labor force in this country.
When you help people early in their career, do you find that they're staying with those employers, or is that a stepping stone? Do they move on right away?
Yeah, so we have some data that suggests that when we launch people into their career trajectory through our platform, we have something like a 300% increase in the level of retention. So people are staying for years. I mean, we'll launch somebody into a career, and 3-5 years later we'll check in and they're still there. So and I think part of the reason for that is when you're in the right environment and it's conducive to who you are and you're the right sort of culture match, all of these other things become possible, and you can, you can perform at a high level, you can feel supported, you're working with people that you really enjoy. All of these things contribute to your overall, success of your career. And ultimately that's what keeps people at organizations.
Yeah.
Right?
I've asked this question in a number of different ways, and I always brace myself for the answer just based on recent history. But in the last 5 years, have you seen the industry or labor market change?
Absolutely. And yeah, it's wise to brace yourself a little bit with that question, I suppose. For a long time, we lived in a world that was really dictated by employers, right? So, you had to kind of follow their path and play by their rules and submit resumes. I mean, I remember, coming out of college and submitting like 400 job applications and getting one interview, right? And so it's kind of a numbers game. You're just sort of applying. And the way that our systems and structures are set up is to operate that way, right? So if you think about like large job boards and search engines, they're based on, in the way that most organizations are structuring the algorithms that they use, they're based on scanning resumes or scanning applications for keywords and key concepts, and then filtering people out that don't have the right things on those resumes. So in that world, it's really kind of, employers hold all the power. All of that changed once COVID happened, right?
Yeah.
We went through this cataclysmic event that really shifted the way that people view work, but also shifted the labor supply and demand, right? So that change has really shifted us to more of a consumer candidate mindset, right? So candidates are operating with, they're being more discerning. Right? They're looking at different options. They're making choices more carefully. And so in this world, and I think that, we started down this path, and I think we're going to be path dependent for a while, and be on this, sort of supply side focus. Employers are really going to have to work to market themselves and to sort of make their claim for why candidates should want to work there. And so I think that's a massive shift. And I think we're just seeing the early indications of that. And I think it's only going to, advance and get more pronounced in the years to come.
This is kind of a weird question. I'm thinking to me when I say this, but for people who cannot make decisions, I mean, that's probably a little bit hard on them to have all these choices potentially out there. Instead of, hey, there's an employer that's hiring, I'll just have to take this, right?
Yeah, and it is a very different mindset. And if you think about it, a lot of the people that are in positions today that are hiring candidates, they operate that way because that's the world they came into, right? They started their career and it was, this recession or that recession or this recession. And so they were just desperate to get a job. And now candidates coming out of school, a lot of them, took some time off. There was less social pressure to get a job right away after school because, of all the things that were going on in the world. So there's a little bit more of a, level of patience. But also, to your point, when there are so many options, people can be indecisive. But the reality is there's a lot of options, but that field gets narrowed based on what people are interested in and what's important to them. And so, with like Gen Z, we see this. There's a really significant mission orientation. So they really care about the impact an organization makes. And they're going to read headlines and understand, their sustainability footprint and all these different things. And that's one of the key things that they're looking for. But there's also so much data out there based on, others that work there, right? So they're reading Glassdoor, they're reading all the Google reviews. And so they can really leverage all of this data to start making, much more informed decisions. Again, they're thinking about this in the same way that they're buying sunglasses or buying sneakers, right? They're looking at all of the data, thinking about it, taking perspective from other people, and interestingly, probably spending less time listening to authority figures on what is good or what is different and where they should go, and listening, in larger part to peers and others that have gone through the similar process.
Hey, it's kind of like my kids right now.
Yeah, I mean, and it's interesting. I think, as you look at the way that people that are, say, early in their career or just, launching their career or in school or in high school even, and the differences in the way that they make decisions and the differences in terms of what's important to them versus, people that were coming out of school, in 2005 to 2010 or 15 or before then, it is vastly different.
I should have asked you this sooner. Do people come to you from the employer side or from the potential employee side or both?
Both. So, we basically have a dual-sided platform. So we have this entity where we're drawing in talent each week. Roughly 1,000 people or so kind of raise their hand and say they want to work with us every single week. And then on the flip side of that, we've got employers that we're actively talking to and understanding their needs and their roles and mapping what their demands to the supply that we have. So it's an ongoing kind of connecting of the dots, but it's really focused on kind of understanding what employers sort of agree with what we're doing and believe in that and want to work with us and want to trust in the data and trust in the process that enough iterations going through, they're really going to get to a point where they are hiring talent that they may have never even looked at before. And that's one of the best compliments we can get, right? Is when somebody says, this person that, you connected to us, is doing great. We're getting ready to promote them because we hear that a lot. They're amazing. And what's crazy about this is that had we just received their resume, individually, we would have never even given them an interview. Right. So
wow.
It's really kind of reshaping the way that we think about supply and demand. And so it's, that's empowering and it's exciting because that's the world we could live in. Right. And that's kind of where we're driving things.
I'm talking to the CEO Scott Dettman from Avenica. I mean, I guess the closest thing that describes you is a staffing agency, right? But do you is that a term you use?
We don't use that. We don't refer to ourselves as a staffing agency because, again, staffing agencies really operate with this idea of, you need staff. I'm going to go find staff and give it to you. We view ourselves as a career launching platform because we go to individuals that need to launch a career and we help them do that. Yeah. And then, employers are the beneficiaries of that. They benefit from, these high potential, high impact candidates coming into their ecosystem and making an impact in their organization.
How many people work for Avenica?
Indirectly, we've got about 70 employees that are, kind of at any given time part of the magic.
And what makes working for you? What makes working at Avenica why is it such a great place to work?
In some ways, I feel like you probably have to ask the team that question. But one of the things is, we everything we do, we base on our 5 core values. And, our core values really define what drives each of the decisions that we make. And so we talk about, dreaming big and being authentic, kind of really being who you are, being relentless in the pursuit of our goals and in the pursuit of our vision, displaying ownership mentality, and then also kind of operating as a team, through the word that we use, Ubuntu. So I think our core values really make us unique and different because we use that even for internal hiring. But ultimately, I think, people are excited to work on something that, has the potential to make a significant impact. And we're pretty laid back. I've got 4 small kids and I'm married. And so, family always comes first. And so we view all of our team members as equals and give people the time and space that they need. But development and growth in our business starts with our people. So we start there and then it, spawns out from that.
That's awesome. I know we got started a little bit late. Can you hang for a couple more minutes? You got to.
Yeah, I'm good for a couple more minutes. Yeah.
Okay. What's your vision for the next year for Avenica?
In the next year, we are going to refine some of our assessment tools and really start to unlock some of the areas where we can add value from a specific skill development or credential acquisition perspective. What I mean by that is there are a lot of careers that you'll get into, and in the first 6 months you've got to achieve some level of certification on something or a license in some area. And so we're really excited to start building that into our offering and layering that on so that when we're launching careers for individuals, they can already be licensed, and we can help them do that and get there through experts in education and training and helping us think differently about how to provide those kinds of resources to candidates.
What kind of certifications, like professional type stuff or?
Yeah, professional. A lot of the financial services world or insurance world requires, licenses to be able to, go through a variety of different steps, whether that's in claims or customer success or what have you. So things like that, but then also, looking at specific technologies. So think about someone coming out of school with a degree in economics. They may be an analytical thinker, but they may have never had exposure to something like Tableau, which is the kind of prevailing technology in analytics and data. And so we can provide them that training and that resource so that they can earn that credential and then ultimately kind of really increase their ability to make more money, to be more marketable, to do all those different things. So really kind of finding the right individuals with kind of the right DNA, right, and then giving them the specific +1 skills that they're going to need to really launch their career. Man,
that's fantastic. Is there a piece of advice you got along the way that you would give others based on on your journey so far that's made a difference to you?
I think I've gotten a lot of advice. But one of the best pieces of advice that I received was from a former football coach, a guy by the name of Jeff Trickey. And he would always say that you earn credibility in droplets and you lose it in bucket loads. I think really thinking about the work that we do every day, and I caution the team on this every day, do the little things right every day, and the big things take care of themselves. Right? Bill Walsh, the famous NFL coach, has a book called The Score Takes Care of Itself. It's one of my favorite management leadership books. And it's about doing the little things, the little tasks, the little habits right every single day. And then ultimately, if you win at practice and if you win, minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day, ultimately the wins, each week pile up. And those wins lead to other wins and other wins and other wins. And it's really about becoming the kind of individual and the kind of team that knows how to do the right work and the right habits that will lead to the ultimate outcomes that you're driving towards.
Man, those coaches were always onto something, right? I mean, they always had that vision, and the sports analogies are great. What else would you like the Twin Cities to know about Avenica?
I would just encourage people to check us out. You can find us at Avenica.com or on social media platforms. Mm-hmm. We're active on TikTok and LinkedIn and Twitter. But I'm always interested to hear from employers and from job seekers just about what their experience is and what are they afraid of and what are they excited for and what are their biggest challenges, because part of the fun of doing what we do is working with job seekers, but then the other part of that is working with employers that have specific challenges that they're trying to overcome, whether that's onboarding challenges or new training or just identifying the right kind of people that have the right kind of skills and approach. And that can be a lot of fun for us, really kind of helping them dive in and define their needs in a specific way.
And if somebody's looking for a job or trying to get into their career, or there's an employer looking for people, they just probably need to get a hold of you at your website at Avenica.com, but do they need any prerequisites? What would you like to have them have ready? An open mind, I think is really important. And for people to have come with, some idea of what they've done before. But more importantly, what we're really interested in is an individual story. So come with a willingness to kind of be vulnerable and share your story. Tell us about yourself. The way that we structure our process is that if you apply to work with us, if you do all of the different steps that we ask you to do, then we will absolutely interview you. We will bring you through the process, and we grant an interview to everybody that goes through the steps of the process, because the worst thing in the world is you get excited about an opportunity, you apply, and then it goes into like a black hole and you never hear anything, right? So we want to be able to give feedback to people and give them an opportunity. And we believe that showing that you can complete different steps and do different levels that we call it levels, that's really a good indication of the kind of employee you're going to be. So, an open mind and a willingness to kind of jump through some of the hoops that we're going to put out there, but it leads to the right kind of outcome. If you're like me, and sometimes you get the vision of somebody opening up an envelope and looking at your resume, and maybe that doesn't really work like that anymore.
No, so internally, I have not looked at a resume, I think, in 4 or 5 years. So I've hired the majority of our team without looking at resumes, just because, again, I think they're kind of silly. I mean, they just don't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a listing of the very best measurable moments of anything that you've done.
So very selective. Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, so many people don't. I mean, I remember, I was a college athlete, and I remember coming out of school and trying to build my resume, and it never dawned on me that my my participation in sports made sense to be on a resume, but I just wouldn't put it there. And so many people make those mistakes because if they don't have someone kind of coaching them through what needs to be there, they just don't know. And so, people are trying to game the system and write the best resume, when in reality, resumes are part of the problem. So we're trying to create a world that has forgotten the word resume, or at least pronounces it differently. So,
all right, Scott Dettman, CEO of Avenica, Avenica.com, and you're on. Are you on all the social platforms?
we are. Yep. Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram.
All the new ones coming.
Yeah. Always have a pulse on that. So
cool. Thank you so much. Thanks for all the advice. I think this will work for a lot of people.
yeah, great. Thank you. And I appreciate your time.
Twin Cities CEO you should know. Get more at our website, keyword CEO.